Can a costume from 2019 be revamped and win a local competition? Hi, I'm Emmy, and today we're doing a cosplay of Rise Kujikawa from Persona 4 Dancing All Night. As it was previously mentioned, this project started in 2019, which is a long time ago. The costume was created from white pleather, some poplin fabric which I painted myself to match the design. It was no longer up to my standard, so it was just laying around the house waiting for its miraculous opportunity. And then it happened. I went fabric shopping and found almost perfect fabric for her skirt and the bows. And after making the new skirt, I had to revamp the jacket again. And with it, the whole costume. So let's go for a journey. First, let me start with a wig. For this, I bought a simple wig from AliExpress in a brown color with 2 pigtails that were clip-ons. So overall, there were 3 huge styling sessions. First one was, of course, for the first time I wore Rise at a convention. Second one was for first competition that took place in the beginning of June this year. And the last one was for the latest competition, which took place 2 weeks ago. For the pigtails, not much was done. I just harvested some of the hair for the wefts and teased it a lot. Do you remember those donut shapes that are used for voluminous updos? Well, I had one donut like that and I cut it in half and inserted one half to each pigtail. The teased sections work wonders in covering these donuts. I also added some hair tinsels and curled it a lot. That's how I achieved the voluminous pigtails as she has. The main wig was a little harder. I didn't really wanted to chop all of the hair out, since I am a little scared and not as good in wig styling. So after a lot of steaming and teasing, I used the wefts I created to make a parting in the back of the wig. I glued the wefts one by one, then added them to pigtails on both sides, and after that was finished, I used some alcohol markers to shade the partings in. After that, I styled the little ponytails, so when I clip on the big ponytails, there are some smaller, shorter sections like Rise has. And after that, the only thing left was bangs. They were teased and styled, and then I used flat iron to curl them towards my face a little, but in the end, the side parts were hidden by headphones. And no, this is not a seamless transition towards the headphones. Now we're talking about a bow. The bow pattern is nothing difficult, it's just a simple rectangle that was first sewn on the longer side, then pressed in half so the seam would be in the center of the back, and then I sewed together the sides. Of course, I had to add some trims and lace for it to be better, and then the most important part. I cut a simple bow shape out of my sister's old yoga mat, so the bow would hold its shape even though it's huge. That piece was inserted into the bow via the opening I left on the back side, and voila! Everything is perfect. To be able to put the bow on, I inserted a simple hair clip. It was sufficient enough for the bow to stay on during the performance, don't worry. Then I added a styrofoam heart, which I painted silver and added some gems as well. And now for the headphones. I'm not even gonna lie, I created at least 3 versions of these headphones. The first one used a metal sheet, which was not the best option, and these were crafted way below my standard now. The second, then 2.5th, and the third version were pretty simple. I cut a long and thin rectangle out of EVA foam and sandwiched it between 2 pieces of Repla. I also tried using just the Repla without the EVA foam piece, however this version was very unstable and wobbly. Since this was a competition piece, I decided to use my very little, but already existing 3D modeling skills, and I modeled the small details. After printing them out, I added quick seal as a filler in 2 thick layers, primed it with few layers of Hexflex, and then just painted them and glued them on. The main part of the headphones were done this way. Firstly, I took the styrofoam ball and cut them in half. The first version of the headphone stops there, but this is a competition piece, so that means we have to take the proportions into account. So, additional cutting of the styrofoam balls was done. Since this is a styrofoam, I decided to use the same process as for the 3D model pieces. So, filling, priming, painting. This time I painted them with sponge so there are no brush strokes. For the cushions, I cut 4 circles out of fake leather. I connected 2 circles on outer edges, then inserted some batting, and then hand-stitched inner edges together. And then I just glued them on, and the headphones were finished. Choker is made out of simple elastic that was connected with zigzag stitch on one edge, and then I used a single stud to connect the plastic chain to the elastic band. The base for the pendant was done out of Verbla, which I painted silver, and then I added lots of gems on top of it. A little heart as well. And now the more complicated piece. First, let's start with the collar. I used this pink Manchester fabric. I cut 2 parts and interfaced 1. Then I zigzagged on a shape from black fabric that would be the base for the smiling face. Then I used heat-on transfer vinyl for the teeth. And then I connected both sides together. After this, I glued on the gems. The collar is hand-stitched to the jacket. For this pattern, I have got my basic bodice pattern which I drafted and modified from my dress. It's made out of satin, which was interfaced, and I believe I used polyester fabric which was just laying in my stash for the lining. We have to give credit where it's due, and I used Sarah's Basement's video of her tattoo cosplay to create this jacket. First, I cut 2 front pieces from the fashion fabric and 2 from the lining fabric, back piece for lining and 1 for fashion fabric. Now it was time for decorating the pieces with the heat-on transfer vinyl and some zigzag embroidery with embroidery floss. Then I connected all on neckline. Since she's having a separating zipper, now it was time to insert this one in, and then I sandwiched the lining and the fashion fabric both together. Then I used Sarah's fudget method, and it worked like a charm. Thank you very much for all your tutorials. Last but not least, the sleeves. First, I cut a rectangle out of Manchester for the cuffs. After that, I ironed on heat-on transfer vinyl and connected the cuff to the sleeve. Now I sewed both of the sleeves together, hand-stitched the inner part of the cuff, and then I connected it to the main jacket. The only thing left was hand-stitching the collar on. Oh, and I can't forget the beading of Yasuhami High I did on one of the sleeves. Now let's move to the skirt. The skirt is basically just a long rectangle, 3 times the length I needed, with box pleats. Don't forget to steam or iron them. I used my old skirt for the pattern for the waistline, and I cut 2 pieces out of fashion fabric and 2 of lining. Of course, the fashion fabric got interfaced. I connected fashion and lining fabric on the top, then I did some understitching and connected the waistline to the skirt. Next, I added an invisible zipper and hemmed the edges. And of course, we can't forget heat-on transfer vinyl, embroidery floss, and some gems for the cuffs and the waistband as well. And that leaves us with tights. For the basic shape, I used already existing knee socks I had on myself and also some shorts. I traced the socks on lame fabric. Then I added pious tape, heat-on transfer vinyl, and some decorative stitch. And since that I didn't want them to fall even during the dancing, I had to secure them somehow. So I made leggings out of nude fabric that held with elastic. hand-stitched the ties to the leggings, and voila, it was done! And since this was a competition piece, the skirt was short, and I didn't feel like showing the nude leggings to anyone, I decided to create a shorts. For them, I used the leftovers of my white satin I used for the jacket, followed a YouTube tutorial to create a fly, connected both of the legs, inserted a waistline, and yes! With that, my costume for Riza was almost done. You see, I forgot to explain how I did the gloves. First one was just a tracing of my hand on a lame fabric that was connected together with a cuff that was made the same way as the cuffs for my jacket. And the second one is just a ribbon that they had in their uniform. For that I used yellow tunnel fabric, interfaced the ends so they would stay, but it's elastic so I can wrap it around my hand and do a knot in the end. Even though the costume is finished, now we have to prepare a performance. Now, this is a dance costume of an idol, so of course I had to perform a true story. I took a choreography video she had from the game, cut it, slowed it down, and created a 17-minute long video tutorial for the dance. And you know, this is not enough for me for the performance. Let me show you what I came up with.
The girl everyone makes a big fuss over isn't the real me. Rosette the idol. She's just another packaged product they created to sell. Nobody actually sees the real me. Ever.
The new idol Kanami Mashita is on the rise.
You see, I'm a little torn. And whatever Kanami does or doesn't do is no concern of mine. At least it shouldn't be. You know, I think I'm going to start my career up again this spring. I'm going to accept that Rosette is an important part of who I am and give it another shot. Let's go get him.
I entered Rise into 2 competitions this year. The first one was just a slow local competition without any qualifications, and she scored the best overall. I couldn't believe that. I honestly saw everyone as better and I didn't even want to attend the results ceremony. And since the rules allowed it, I entered her into another competition. This one is a little bigger and it has some qualifications. But this is a simple costume, so I didn't have any ambitions. But she won me an award for the performance, which I'm truly happy for. I had been fighting a burnout for most part of this year, especially because of the Persephone costume from Smite. So for this little silly costume of Idol with the dance performance, to win something meant really a lot to me. Thank you for following my journey. Goodbye and see you next time.